Hey, Stephen Yanni here at the Burniston Auto Wrecking in Burniston, Massachusetts, doing the junkyard crawl. And I'm here with a 1989 Toyota Camry station wagon. Now, we all know, of course, that the Camry is one of America's best-selling passenger cars for decades running. Of course, the Ford F-Series pickup is the biggest, bestest-selling truck. But yeah, Camrys, as boring as they are some of the biggest sellers in the American marketplace. And why? Well, they're boring and they're humdrum, but they're very functional and represent generally a pretty good value. But this one here is a station wagon. Now, you got to think, this is a 1989 Camry wagon. Well, back in the mid-'80s, the minivan thing didn't exist except for the Chrysler minivans, the Plymouth Voyager, which in fact we did a video on one. If you want to see that one, look for the Now Voyager video in the playlist. But again, the minivan thing, Toyota was late to the party. 1990, the year after this was made, is the year that the very first Toyota minivan, the Previa, arrived on the scene. So Toyota said in the 80s, if we want to sell cars to families, well, here's our wagon. And again, this is a Camry, a Toyota Camry. Now, the Camry name debuted in 1980 as a luxurious version of the Toyota Celica, the Celica Camry. And that was a four-door car with 4 lug nuts and rear-wheel drive. But for 1982, the Camry name was applied to the senior Toyota model. And now, for the first several years, there were only 5-door hatchbacks or 4-doors. But 1986 brought us the first station wagons. And again, this is what Toyota sold families with kids. And again, in the absence of their Previa minivan, which would arrive in 1990, this is as big as it got in America for Toyota buyers. Now, if we look inside of the back of this thing, we'll see the beauty of the full-sized cargo bay, complete with a hornet's nest, so we won't get too close. But this one here is full of wiring and stuff. But again, an option in 1988 up was the all-track. And in that case, you'd see all-track logos here. That's all-wheel drive. But beyond that, after 1982, all Camrys were front or all-wheel drive from 88 up. No more wheel drives. But the interesting thing about this is that it has basically a full-size load area, nearly as big as, not quite a Crown Vic, but pretty darn large. The back seats were large enough for 3 to sit all the way across. And this may look like a rear-wheel drive platform. It has the total proportions, but these are front-wheel drive, again, with the exception of the all-tracks, which were pretty rare. Now, the front seat on this thing, these are bucket seat equipped up front with a center console, 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed stick. Most were the 4-speed automatic. But we see something here up on the A-pillar. This is the automatic motorized shoulder belt, which was first seen on the 1975 Volkswagen Rabbit or Golf. And in fact, in Toyota land, the first Toyota with this was the 81 Toyota Cressida, which was their rear-wheel drive luxury car. But again, the thing is, the DOT, the Department of Transportation, mandated passenger safety systems, and they kind of crept their way up to the airbag. And along the way, these automated shoulder belts were a partial solution. I had a Ford Tempo back in California with one of these things. And the downside of these is that when you get in the car, it comes in, it anchors you in. But if you don't secure the lap belt, which is something you had to do, what could happen in a crash is that shoulder harness would submarine you, and without the lap belt, these could do more harm than good. But again, by 1990, the DOT mandated that all cars sold in America had to have either the automatic lap belt or shoulder belt or an airbag. And it turns out that airbags were cheaper, similar to a manufacturer and design, so airbags won. But this is one of those weird, awkward automatic shoulder harness deals. And again, these were standard on all of these cars to meet the DOT's requirements. Now, something kind of cool on this one is here's a 1988 car preview from the Auto Guide series. These things are still available, mostly online. But the Toyota Camry, yeah, here it is. They had to say basically the Toyota Camry Smart Shopper, $99.50 was the base price on that. Fairly reasonable. And on the right it says here, bottom line, we just wish Toyota had designed in a bit more flair and personality, which is one of Camry's big criticisms. They're kind of bland, but again, they sell like hotcakes, or they might even say that hotcakes sell like Camrys. At the bottom it says here, for families who need a little extra room, the station wagon version makes a lot of sense. And again, these were available as 4-doors or the wagons. Now, the weird thing about the wagons is that these were built in Japan, but they were never sold in Japan. These were built specifically for the North American market as a placeholder before the arrival of the Previa minivan, which made these things obsolete and were pretty much ceased production. Now, how do we know if it's a Japanese built or an American built? And yes, I said American built. 1988, Toyota opened a factory in Kentucky, but they only made 5-door hatches and 4-door sedans. The wagons were all done at Toyota's Japanese plant. And if we look at the VIN, we'll see here the first digit. Where is that thing? It's kind of hard to see, yeah. But anyway, if you look at the VIN, here it is right here. You see the first digit is a J. That means Japan, and that would be the Tsutsumi, Japan factory. If you see the number 4, it's an American-built car. But again, the wagons were not available to the Japanese workers who built them. These were always shipped here to America, and maybe some of these things to Europe. But largely, again, the wagon was an American phenomena starting in like 1950 or so as American post-war baby boom families needed more and more room. But again, Toyota played along just for a few years with these Camry station wagons. Now, something about the Camry, the front-wheel drive version, they all have 5 lugs, and the only thing is, this is a plastic wheel cover, this thing right here. Kind of a hokey deal, but again, the 5-lug thing, kind of, to me, it's like it's an adult car. But again, the first-gen Camry, based on the Corolla, was a... the Celica, excuse me, was a rear-wheel drive car with 4 lugs, kind of a baby car in a way. But speaking of babies, under the hood, well, let's not get too excited. This is the 2-liter, 16-valve, twin-cam inline transverse 4-banger. Iron block, aluminum head. Kind of has a little Hemi vibe going on with the spark plug tubes. You know, kind of neat. Reminds me of a 426 Hemi. Not really. But again, this one has fuel injection, as all second-gen Camrys did. First-gen cars had carburetors, but this thing has 115 horsepower. And the year before this car was built, 1988, the optional 2.5-liter dual overhead cam V6 with 153 horsepower was an option. But again, we don't see it here. Now, at the front of this thing, we see something interesting. 1989 was Toyota's 50th anniversary. And this is the final time that Toyota cars had the actual Toyota logo spelled out. This car was built in March of '89, but in October of 1989, Toyota celebrated their anniversary with that triple oval logo that we see now. It's kind of like a T, or for Toyota, with 3 wheels. And again, late build 1989 Camry wagons would have the triple circle Toyota. So again, the 50th anniversary of Toyota, 1989, but only late build cars got the triple oval front grille. So a final year right here for that. But, you know, other things we see on this one, of course, are electronic fuel injection, which we mentioned earlier, power steering rack, air conditioning, and a lot of vacuum and just sort of add-on emission stuff. But again, these engines were fairly potent, 115 horsepower, which, believe it or not, in this car was, you know, capable of 0 to 60 in like 9.5, 10 seconds, which in the real world is not that bad. We've come so far, though. But again, this is an example of Toyota designing and marketing cars strictly for the American market. These wagons, again, were not sold in Japan, although they were built there. Kind of weird. These all made the trip across the Pacific Ocean from Japan to the California depot, and from there shipped all over the nation to Toyota dealers near you. But that's the story of the 1989 Toyota Camry wagon, the precursor to the minivan Previa, which arrived in 1990 and again made these things obsolete. But if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Baggs YouTube channel. There's tons more to come from where this is coming from. Now, for what I'm trying to say.